Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, and we're specifically going to talk about the ability to explore the deepest end of the pool in complexity on exploration and interaction for player characters through the game. All right? So, basically, I am convinced that the past of Dungeons & Dragons is exploring combat. So just to be clear, I believe that Dungeons & Dragons is a life path. It's not a game. And when you commit to it, it will definitely change the shape of your life. And so we should be wary about becoming dungeon players and dungeon masters. And we should understand that it is a commitment. It is a very significant intellectual, emotional, and spiritual commitment. Okay? All right. So what I mean by spiritual, I mean joy. Right? Like not spiritual from like a sacred religious perspective, but we are spiritual from the perspective of spiritual, not religious, right? Just the aspect of joy and happiness. I really feel like, if you don't play Dungeons and Dragons today, your ability to be happy is quite limited, right? Like there's this super cheap way that you can live multiple lives today, and I think a lot of people are really struggling with one life. And I think if you're in this world trying to get your joy out of one life, it's a sucker's bet, right? Like 1974, the world changed. You don't have to live in one life anymore. You can speak with 1,000 mouths and live with 1,000 hearts, right? Like that's what Gary Gygax did. Is he delivered unbound identity, and we're at the precipice of it. We're at the inception of it. This is just the beginning, right? We're just getting people to even understand what Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition actually is, right? It's a legacy of Gary Gygax, and Gary Gygax's true legacy is unbound identity and the infinite budget, immediate immersion experience, right? Those are, I think, his true legacies, right? So the past of the game and what we've done for 47 years is basically the D&D community is myopically focused on the combat complexity, right? And many people like literally run off to other games because they want to get even deeper into the combat complexity, right? But I believe the future of the game is to match the level of complexity we've accomplished with knowledge and understanding of combat with exploration and interaction, right? Those are the three. And so Dungeons & Dragons has these three pillars, right? Exploration, interaction, and combat. And I think they're actually a map of modern life, right? We explore our world, we interact with people, and we combat our own deficiencies, right? That's what the game is actually pointing us toward, right? So I think the future of the game is exploring this, is the idea of exploring complexity for exploration and interaction, and matching the complexity we've already achieved for combat. We can leave it where it's standing. We don't need to have better rules for better combat in Dungeons & Dragons. We need better rules for exploration and interaction. Now, how do I know this? Well, I'm watching an incredible show. It's called Girls, and the reason I got on Girls, and I'm watching it, and I'm in season 4. I'm in the middle of season 4 now. And the reason why is I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and I really like the character Kylo Ren. He's played by an actor by the name of Adam Driver, and I've been working my way through his entire catalog of work. And Adam Driver was in a show called Girls, right? And he's an incredible character in Girls. He plays a character by the name of Adam Sackler, okay? So I just watched an episode. It was Girls, Season 4, Episode 6, called Close Up. And in this show, Adam Sackler. By the way, all right, we're going into a touchy subject for human beings at this point. A lot of people have a lot of opinions about what I'm about to talk about, right? And what I want to do is we're going to talk about a subject that a lot of people get very nervous around, which I understand, right? And I'm not going to talk about the core of that subject because I don't really care about the core of that subject in the context of Dungeons & Dragons. What I care about is the complexity of this character, Adam Sackler, right? And when I watch the show, Girls, I'm like, oh, that's an incredibly complex character. But I want to go further. I want to interact and explore with a player character at the same level of depth on the exploration and the interaction side as Adam Sackler is within the show Girls, and it's most highlighted in season 4, episode 6, right? So here's where we land, right? So this character, Adam Sackler, he has a girlfriend named Hannah Horvath. Hannah Horvath leaves Adam Sackler and goes to Iowa and says, hey, I know, I love you, Adam Sackler, but you live in New York. I'm going to Iowa to get an MFA, a Master's in Fine Art, and I'm leaving you for 2 years, right? Well, Adam Sackler's like, ooh, wow, I kind of read that as a rejection of me as a person. So he gets a new girlfriend named Mimi Rose Howard, okay? And he doesn't tell Hannah Horvath, right? And then she comes back and discovers she has a new girlfriend, and she quit the MFA to being more engaged in her life in New York, right? But then she comes back and realizes she's already kind of like lit her life in New York on fire, right? And so she's lost this boyfriend. So now Adam Sackler has this new girlfriend, Mimi Rose Howard, and he's trying to build a life with her, right? Well, he says, hey, Mimi Rose, my girlfriend, I, Adam Sackler, want to go on a jog. And she's like, I can't go on a jog. And he's like, sure you can. Come on, it's healthy. Let's do it. And she's like, hey, you know how we're together sometimes? Well, I was pregnant 2 days ago. But yesterday, I got a procedure that made it so that I wasn't pregnant. And I'm telling you this now. And so Adam Sackler gets very upset. He gets incredibly upset. And he's like, was it a boy or girl, right? Now, here's the tricky part, right? So this debate over the 1973 law, there's this huge debate. Is it a person? Is it not a person, right? And if whatever you believe on one side or the other, really determines your entire opinion of this subject, right? So Adam is saying, hey, I think that 2 days ago I had a child, right? And that child was in you, and I'm very upset that child no longer exists, and I'm on the other side of this, right? And I'm shocked and upset, right? And I was just shocked at the complexity of Adam Sackler's exploration and interaction life. The elements of exploration and interaction in his life were so incredibly complex. And I really realized instantly that my life is so simple comparatively, right? So Adam Sackler I realized when it came to children, my life is incredibly simple, right? So I had 2 girlfriends. I never had any. And so, yeah, let's talk about Adam Sackler's life first, and then we'll compare it to mine, right? So Adam Sackler has a life where he's like, I have 3 states for children. I have a state where I have created a child, and by the way, I'm not saying whether Adam Sackler is right or wrong. I'm just saying his perception. And his perception was that he had a child. So the complexity of his life is he has this perception in his mind that he can have 3 states with children. He can have a child with a person, and he can have a child with a biological woman. There are other situations, but I'm just talking about Adam Sackler's situation. He can have a child with a biological woman and not know he has a child. That's state 1. He can have a child, know he has a child, and still not be able to have the child because he respects the rights of the woman, and it's going to be her decision, right, to determine if he will have a child or not. He doesn't have any power over the situation, right? And then he can have a child with a woman who actually wants to have his child. He has 3 states, right? 3 states of childhood in Adam Sackler's life. And my eyes just went huge. I was like, holy cows, right? I have thought that having children was complex, right? But my life has been massively simple. I never had a situation in which any biological woman would have a child of mine, and I wouldn't be aware. That was not possible from any point in my life. I never made choices that would even allow that possibility, right? The other thing is I never allowed a possibility where a woman would have, basically from Adam Sackler's perspective, that woman would have a child, but I wouldn't have any say on whether that child would be there or not. And then the last one is I realized I had, by saying, okay, before we have a child, I'm going to have a 2-3 year long discussion with a woman about what we want to do with, 4 children. And then we're going to promise publicly to be with everybody, to be with each other forever. And then the odds that we have a differing opinion on children is so massively low that it's functionally non-existent. Of course, it was 1% at all times, but 99%, I knew what the outcome of those children decisions would be. And I realized the complexity of my life when it came to exploration, and what I mean by exploration, but is exploring creation in this world, creating new life, right? That's if anything's exploration, that's exploration, right? Like exploring, changing the world through creation of new life within the world, right? And I was like, holy cows, like the complexity of this Adam Sackler character is so incredibly high, right? And my life is so simple. And I was like, I really am very fascinated about about characters who have, very low complexity on combat, incredibly high complexity on exploration, and incredibly high complexity on interaction. And the Adam Sackler character has that in immense amounts. The complexity of his exploration elements of his life and the complexity of the interaction elements of his life are so much more dramatically higher than mine, right? And I'm like, I want to explore these kind of characters where the combat part is simple, but the exploration part of their lives and the interaction part of their lives is highly complex, right? And I was like, I want this in my D&D game. I want to be able to play and have and make decisions. I don't want to just watch Adam Sackler. I want to have Dungeons & Dragons characters that have huge complexity on the exploration side and on the interaction side, and low complexity on the combat side. Now here's where it gets sticky. And this is where I'm trying to convince you. There are others who say, oh, no, Scott, this isn't for D&D. These stories can't be told with D&D. You need to go over to Fate or PBTA or, and then you could tell these kind of stories. And I reject that. There's no limitation on the stories that can be told with Dungeons & Dragons, okay? And to Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. And if you say these kind of stories can't be told with Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, you're on the gatekeeper side. You're the one that's saying, I want to make sure Dungeons & Dragons is small and just tells combat stories. And I'm saying, boo, no, reject. All stories can be told with Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. Don't go find another game, right? Those other games don't matter. The world doesn't care about them. The world literally doesn't know about them, right? But the world does know about Dungeons & Dragons games. And I want to make it so that we can tell incredibly engaging Dungeons & Dragons stories with exploration and interaction. And I will purchase with my dollars books that put us there. And guess what? Wild Beyond the Witchlight put us there. The entire game can be played without combat, right? And it's saying, let's focus on the exploration and interaction, right? And I have definitely 100% different opinion on Wild Beyond the Witchlight than I had when it was announced. And I'm telling you, don't get tricked, right? Do not take these incredibly complex and incredibly attractive stories and make them so that they can't be told in Dungeons & Dragons. We need to be able to tell these stories in Dungeons & Dragons, and we continue to craft Dungeons & Dragons into the perfect narrative engine to tell all stories, right? We don't run off and escape to another game. That's my opinion. I'm very interested to hear your opinion. Let me know in the comments below. Are you interested in playing these type of complex characters who have low combat complexity, but very, very high exploration complexity and interaction complexity? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing. Have a wonderful millennium.